For Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, the last few years have been quite tough over escalating insecurity. But the state is witnessing some relief. Well, 17 months ago, tragedy struck in Tudun Biri village in Igabi local government area of the state, where 87 lives were lost when a Nigerian army drone mistakenly dropped its weapon on worshippers. In this journalist's hangout midweek special, Babajide Kolade Otitoju examines how the people are recovering from that carnage. Let's share the story with you.
A little more than a year ago, a Nigerian army drone mistakenly struck Tudun Biri, a serene community in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State, claiming 87 lives. I visited Tudun Biri to assess the pulse of the people, to see how they are rebuilding, healing, and holding on to hope. The scars of that tragic incident remain fresh in the hearts of the locals. The trauma lingers, but so does their resilience. I spoke with survivors who carry the weight of that memory, a pain they will never forget.
We lost most of lives, almost about 80 people stayed, men and women. And the girls there, we have children, girls, and wives. Yes.
Under the mango tree?
Under this mango tree. Yes.
But the second bomb?
The second bomb occurred within almost about 10 meters within the mango tree and the mosques, our mosques.
The old mosque?
Yes.
Any year that they used to do the Molidi,
yes.
They used to come there and help there and dance and do this thing. So that very day that thing happened, we feel it's bad, but as anything that God say will happen, will happen. We can't tell God say why. And we thank God for government. All what government has said they will do it. They have been helping us. But one thing, we don't have school because of our children. Before they go to school, they have to go to new airport. And that place is very far.
In the aftermath of the carnage, promises poured in from the military, the state government, lawmakers, and even the federal government, pledges to rebuild, restore, and give Tudun Biri a new beginning. What the people lacked before the accidental attack on their community by a Nigerian army drone, they now have, and they are happy to have a brand new health center, primary health center. I'm going into the primary health center now to see what is on ground in the facility. This is a brand new health facility provided by the government of Senator Obasani. One of the most critical promises fulfilled by Governor Obasani is the newly inaugurated 25-bed primary health center. It is a big lifeline, offering comprehensive medical, surgical, and even ophthalmological care to a community once left in despair. The director has told us the electricity source is solar. 25-bed primary health center, here in Tudun Biri. But healthcare was just the start. A skill acquisition center now stands to empower the youth, just as pipe-borne water has also been provided. But some needs remain unmet. They believe the government took their land for good, but as a people depend solely on farming, they are in dire need of land.
Let government help us, because some people, it's only that farm they have. They don't have anything again. And now there is no farm. You see, it's very problem. So we want government to help us about the promise that you said you do it to us. And we women, we need job and we need business that will be helping ourselves with our husband, with our children. Because some people, they don't have husband. They are only doing with themselves and nothing, no job, no this thing, no business. You see? So we are praying to government to help us with the women, that God will help us, that we can help ourselves with our children.
Hanya dai ga ta ana yi ga hospitals ga makarantar koyon sana'a ga kuma gidaje can da aka ce ana gina ma al'umma. To ban damuwa na nan wurin a gwamnati gaskiya bakin gwargwado kyautata mana ta yi. To ni mutumin kauye ne ban da wani sana'a sai noma. Shi na sani, shi na taso na sani. Wannan filaye duba nan. Filayen mu ne nan. Mutane ne duk bana wasu ba su noma ba. Kuma a filin nan akwai wanda bai da sauran gona filin nan ne. Gwamnati ta yi alƙawarin za ta taimaka ma al'umma. Irin abin da kake a wurinka an ɗauki suna an yi komai. To al'umman ba a ba su wani abu ba har yanzu shine suke ta korafi akai akai. To bar gazawan ta muka gani ba tana kan bakin kokari shine muke so da Allah kuma ku taimaka domin kiranta domin al'umma Allah taimaka a ba su haƙƙinsu.
Though predominantly Muslim, Tudun Biri has long been a model of interfaith harmony. Christians and Muslims lived as one, grieving together and now healing together. They appreciate the government for building a mosque, but ask that a place of worship be built for their Christian brothers.
Babu ci gaban da yafi wannan. Ko da an ban kuɗi za su kare amma wannan har yara na su taso har jikoki na za su iya amfana da wannan.
Kuma kuna da ruwa yanzu.
Yawwa ina ma gwamnati godiya. Ka duba asibiti wannan. Masallaci. Wanda duk da ban san akwai ta ba. Da zan samu minti 30 ko 40 ka ban fita airport ba. Yanzu a minti 5 ina airport. Kaga shabu ba mun zai ma Allah godiya ne sakamakon da ban san shi ba. To yanzu na samu. Ina kira na biyu da gwamnati da Allah ta taimaka mana saboda ta yi alƙawari. Church ta ce za ta muna tare da Kiristoci muna tare da su na amana. Abin da ya faru ba musulmi bane amma akwai yaran su a wurin. To ta alƙawarin za ta gina ma Kiristocinmu church. Kuma zuba ta ce komai ba. Kuma su suna kallon kamar da aka yi wannan sai kama akwai mun san kaman muke da kilo sau to mun sani ba kuma duka mutane suna fahimtar cewa amma mana kira gwamnati da Allah taimaka alƙawarin da taima kiristun da Allah a cika musu
kana da gaskiya da Allah taimaka Allah taimaka. This 6-kilometer road will connect Tudun Biri to the wider world, boosting trade and access. With increased military patrols, security has improved rapidly. On the 3rd of December 2023, people of Tudun Biri sat under the shade of this big mango tree. It was Maulud Day celebration for the people. Their speakers were arranged on this side, and it was a day of joy. But that day, joy transformed into calamity as Nigerian Army drone dropped 2 bombs on the celebrators. One was dropped at this location. You can see that the outer covering of this mango tree has chipped away literally. It was from the impact of the bomb that was dropped here. Another bomb was dropped just in front of me, of where I stand. Today, the people of Tudun Biri are picking up the pieces of their lives. Government made promises to the people to ease their pains, to turn their sadness to joy. Some of those promises have been fulfilled. Some are yet to be fulfilled. The government of Senator Obasani has delivered on some of the promises that it made to the people. We also want the federal government to fulfill its promise to build new homes for the people. Today, the people are happy, but they will be happier if those promises are fulfilled in good time. Babajide Kwade Otitoju, Tudun Biri, Igabi local government area, Kaduna State.
And we still have BKO in the studio with us to discuss more about his findings in Tudun Biri. BKO, it's quite an emotional one, I would say. We've seen that people, were suffered loss and in return the government has given them some level of succor. But would you say that that is enough? Because I can see from your report you said people are asking for, you know, more livelihoods where they were, the farmland where they used to have their farms. Yes. It has been turned to, you know, the structures that has been erected. What more can you tell us from what you saw on ground?
Yes, actually Boko Haram, I said Boko Haram, bandits used to pass through the community. You know, the community was partly a route for bandits. So the army must have felt that those people who gathered were actually bandits. But that is the thing about technology. It's an unmanned area vehicle that dropped its weapons on those people. The human touch is always important because perhaps if it was manned
by humans,
by a pilot, for example, he could have seen that, oh, these don't look like, these are children and women, because a lot of those who died in that attack were women and children, majority of those who died. So maybe the pilot would have seen that this can be bandits too, and he would not have dropped those weapons on them, you know. So when one of the difficult things for a journalist is when people are narrating the pains that they've gone through. Sometimes you find it difficult to cope. I remember going to Jibia to do a story, and a man told me how all of his children were killed in one day, and his wife was killed. So as he was narrating that story to me, he was crying. I mean, an old man crying. I had to hold him tightly, and I backed the camera because I was struggling with my emotions. Look, how do you just go into a community, wipe out a man's family, and you left him alone? Where does he start from? So for these people, I was also struggling because Amnesty International said 120 people. But officially, we were told 87, 88. But that's a large number of people to die just like that. But one thing struck me. The people, the Christians and the Muslims in that community, they are living together as brothers, as sisters. No rivalry of any sort. The guy who spoke pointed at the church and said, see, we have a brand new mosque. But whenever I see their church, I believe that it makes sense to build a new church for them too. Since you've given us
a mosque.
And some Christians died in that bombing. My findings show that some Christians who came to rejoice with them, because they always rejoice as one people, they also died. So I'm confident that Governor Obasanjo will address that demand made by the youth leader. Then the road, as at last week, that road project was almost completed. It's gone very far with it, you know. We just showed a bit of the footage. So the promises, I think from the state government's end, they've done very well. We gave them piped water, gave them a skill acquisition center, gave them a hospital, you know, gave them a brand new mosque, and are building a new road that takes them all the way to the airport area. So Governor Obasanjo has done well, but the federal government are promised to build new homes for them. I think the federal government should fulfill the vow.
And in addition to homes, what about improving their livelihoods?
Yes, they also talked about schools, the new schools. They also will want government to help them tractorize their land so that they can return fully to
mechanized farming.
Yes, they can return fully to farming. Because for now they've lost They've lost their land. Yeah, so many of them have lost their land. So they should tractorize and expand access to arable land for them in the community. So it's, I'm happy that the people are doing well. They've literally put this behind them, but I must confess it's not easy.
I agree. You know, witnessing such incident might be traumatizing, especially when we know that this is not the first time that military drones have been mistakenly shot, fired, and people have been, you know, killed in the process. So, but from your own perspective, Kayode, what can be done to nip this in the bud? Because we can't keep having errors being, you know, taken, and no one takes the fall for it. As in, it's as if people's lives don't really matter. They're more like sheep and goats.
I think, sorry, I have to just celebrate what I saw here. What I saw here is journalism. This is what journalism is all about. A lot of people just feel journalism is about reporting the story and you leave it there. You know, some people have even forgotten about what happened.
Yeah, it's more like follow-up.
You know, 17 months ago. And he was able to dig up and let us realize that, hey, this is just an happening. This isn't just a happening. This is something that should be given it attention. What were the promises that were made? What were the interventions that were made? What are the things that were said? Many journalists don't do that again. We just come on air, criticize, lambast, and we move on. No, 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 no. There are words on the marbles. There are things we must take seriously. And I think what BKO has done. Because some may just say, after all, they gave us a mosque. After all, they built a hospital. You know, he's saying that there is something more. You know, if people can forgive. I remember that these people forgave the army about what happened. That's the spirit that really touched me. But, you know, for those of us who are seeking justice and seeking every important thing, I think it's just to also remind the army that who should be reprimanded shouldn't be left alone. And every lesson that needs to be learned, that should be the last time it should be learned. And BK has pointed something very key. You know, that's one of the disadvantages of technology. You know, there's nothing that has advantages, no matter how numerous they are, that doesn't have some kind of disadvantage
as well.
So it's just for our military personnel to be more cautious. As much as it's a difficult war they are fighting, they cannot imagine brothers killing brothers. They cannot imagine people who just feel that the way out is to be killing people, wants to take people's land. It's unthinkable, you know. So for me, I think justice, the real justice is that people are being attended to. The real justice is that people are not forgotten. That's for me, justice. You can take the soldiers, kill them, do whatever worst things you want to imagine. That is not really the real justice we're talking about. But for the people, kudos to you. If you're watching this program, we love the art of forgiveness that you've displayed, and to also know that government, we will keep at it. Government will continue to call government's attention. And for the man who is making call for Christians, that's quite noble. It's something that really whatever impressed. It is, they should be attended to. Christians may not have asked for new building, but I think it's a
they also
strong
died
message.
in the carnage. They
Yes.
also died because they were rejoicing with their Muslim brothers and sisters.
So it's something that we should do everything possible to make sure people are well compensated. Nothing can be used to replace lives, but then we can attend to them.
Yeah, so but in your own thoughts, BKO, what would you propose now to the government of Kaduna State to ensure that everyone, you know, enjoys, or will I say lives in harmony? Although it is in the sense, you know, it is doing its best, you know, assuaging the plight of those who've lost loved ones and all. What more do you want the governor to do in Kaduna State?
You see, everywhere I went to, when I was in Kaduna, people asked for the presence of government, and in form of schools, piped water, and access to jobs for their children. What Governor Basani has done in this case is to build a skill acquisition center, which is like, rather than giving you fish, I'll teach you how to fish, so that on your own you can get fish. We do not have enough skilled labor in our country. The more skill acquisition centers we have, the greater our chances of reducing the skills deficit, you know, in the workforce.
And the skill acquisitions, we're looking at what is local to the community, because sometimes it's best to look at what people are attuned to than bringing in something that is, you know, foreign and no one would take part in it at the end of the day.
Yeah, from what I saw, these are everyday jobs that our people do. Aluminium fabrication, for example, tailoring, welding. These are things that our people do. So from what I've seen in the skill acquisition centers of Kaduna State, the jobs, the skills on display are what the people can relate with easily. So which will give them employment. They will be their own employers, and they can also be employers of labor as well, rather than waiting for white-collar jobs that are really not there. So the people are great farmers. Kaduna is probably the best in our country now when it comes to farming. You know, talking about maize, Kaduna is #1. We are talking about tomato, Kaduna is #1. We are talking about pepper, Kaduna is #1. And there are other crops where Kaduna is second. You need to see even grapes. These grapes that you see them selling, these imported grapes, Kaduna grows it in abundance.
In the hot climate?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why do we export
this man, the governorship candidate of PDP, his local government, Kudan. We call the man Isa Kudan. His local government, they produce plenty of grapes. This was what I discovered recently.
That's a huge
and
cash crop.
When you are talking about the wealthiest farmers in Nigeria today, the wealthiest farmers in Nigeria today are in Kaduna State.
Oh.
Yes. You saw the documentary that I did. One person making 1.4 billion from just 3 crops. Yes. So what the governor should continue to do is help them.
Right.
Help them tractorize their feeds. Once you've done that, provide fertilizers. And the governor has done that. I think President Tinubu has also assisted him a lot. Fertilizer worth more than 9 billion naira. You know what that means. There's no way it won't have impact.
Yeah.
So that's what the people need. Our people don't, and they are not saying government do everything for us. Just do a little for people.
Right.
They will appreciate it.
Well, that's where we have to anchor these discussions. Thank you so much for your insights you've shared so far on the show. Babajide Kolade Otutoju and Kayode.
Always a pleasure.
Ladende, thank you so much. Well, that's all on Journalist Hangouts this week. Remember, you can also watch a repeat broadcast of the show tonight at 11. Join us again from Sunday at 3:30 p.m. We are also live on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria.